Hi, I'm Brian Scott, the CEO at PittMoss, and we make the top performing soils on the market made out of all recycled material like paper and cardboard waste. There are three major problems that PittMoss helps to solve today. The first is that there's terrible carbon emissions associated with peat mining. What most people don't know is a typical 2 cubic foot bag of potting soil has the same carbon emissions to it as burning 22 pounds of coal. It's a terrible story that most people don't know about today. In addition to that, about 34% of what goes into the landfill today is cellulose fiber material like paper and cardboard. And then lastly, we are just accustomed to overusing water and fertilization both in horticulture and in agriculture. And because of that, we get a lot of groundwater runoff, algae, that sort of thing. PittMoss helps solve all three of these problems. So our solution, first of all, it's peat-free, it's environmentally friendly. Again, it's very sustainable because we're using recycled materials. And lastly, the thing we're most excited about is our performance. We actually get bigger, healthier, stronger plants using less water and less fertilizer. When it comes to the environmental aspects of what we do, last year we helped prevent 597 metric tons of carbon emissions by using our product instead of the peat-based products. That's as much as burning about 628,000 pounds of coal. It's a huge number. When you look at our plant growth, again, what we're super excited about is we get much better plant growth than all of the major brands that are on the market today. ProMix BX, which is a top selling commercial soil, you can take a look at just the root structure difference from using our product, where we get about twice the root structure and then also twice the plant growth. We have super disruptive technology. So our patents are built around how we fiberize paper and then how we reconstitute it into little particles or PEDs that both have really great aeration and water holding capacity. It's very different than any other growing media because of that technology. But then in addition to that, we protect with trade secrets all of our formulas, all of the natural organic fertilizers that we use to make our product much better than the competitors that are on the market today. As we stand today, we have a whole catalog of retail products that you can see here. Almost all of them are growing-based medias, but in addition to that, we also do sell an animal bedding product. On the commercial front, to the big nurseries and commercial growers, we sell them our grower grade product that they can mix into their own soil, as well as a couple pre-made soils that they can grow in directly today. We've got a ton of competitive advantages over others out there, but the main story that we always focus on is we're environmentally friendly and sustainable, and our product at the end of the day just works much better than the other products on the market. When you look at the competition, there are way more competitors than what we have listed on this slide, but the thing they all have in common is that they use peat as a base material. When you look at our pricing, we are at the higher end of the price range with a lot of the top competitors, but we significantly outperform them. And we operate in a really large market. It's actually a $6 billion soil market. Just in North America, that's about a $3.5 billion market. And we believe we can capture more than $1 billion of that market today. When you take a look at our business model, we know that at scale, we can make our product for about $1.20 a cubic foot. We sell it today to commercial growers for $2.50 a foot, at wholesale for $5 a foot, and at retail for $10 a cubic foot. And when you think about the revenue streams, I just kind of outlined those, but we sell commercially to a lot of growers, agriculture, horticultural growers, and greenhouses and cannabis and so forth. Our next channel is our wholesale channel, where today we sell to about 150 garden centers in 22 states, and we also have 8 distribution partners. And then at retail, we sell direct to consumer via PittMoss.com as well as on Amazon. We also have a different go-to-market strategy for each one of those channels that we execute upon today. So when you look at an example of a person that uses our product in each of those channels, John Constantine owns a commercial greenhouse and a garden center, and he grows all of his plants in our commercial products. And then he also sells our retail products that he buys from us as a wholesaler. Greg McNish is a big commercial grower. He grows ground covers. And we showed a photo here of his ajuga plant where he can go to market with our product in 6 to 8 weeks, where it's normally 12 weeks for him to go to market in his peat-based soil. Andy is a retailer. He actually owns a True Value garden center in Pittsburgh. And Andy just raves about how much his customers love PittMoss compared to the peat-based soil that they used to use. And he tells us that customers just won't switch back to a peat-based soil once they use ours. Carrie's actually a New York resident. She just moved out of New York City into upstate New York, raves about our product, loves the environmental story, and then also understands that she can both water and fertilize less using our product. As I mentioned, we also have a bedding product. This is our roost poultry bedding. We've found that people that use our roost poultry bedding are getting 8 to 12% larger birds by using our bedding. The reason for that is the chickens can actually eat and digest our material, where when it's wood chips, it'll get caught in their gizzard and they can't process food quite as well. So by using our bedding, as well as absorbing ammonia and other things, it really is much better for the chicken's growth pattern. We've got a super strong team. Mont Handley is our founder. He's the guy that invented our product, and he's an entrepreneur in residence at Purdue University. Myself, this is my 7th startup or turnaround. Dr. Bethke is one of the top soil scientists in the US. He used to run Michigan State University's horticulture greenhouse, as well as did R&D for Michigan Peat Company, the largest peat company in the US. Mark's got about 30 years experience selling into this industry, and Ashley's got about 10 years experience in marketing and advertising. We've got really great traction with our products already. And if you take a look, we have been slowly growing our company year over year as we have been doing R&D and introducing all of these new products. But today, 2020 is the first year we've had all of these products. And you see we've got really significant growth in 2020 and think we can about double every year moving forward. So we believe we can have a really, really significant impact on the Grow New York region. For us to win the $1 million, we would do a few different projects with that money. So first, we would do some growth trials at Cornell, as well as some hemp feedstock R&D with SUNY Morrisville. We believe that we can use hemp as a waste material to integrate it into our products. And I'll talk about, there's a really exciting part about that in a second I'll talk about. In addition to that, we know that we can get a lot of farmers in New York State much more efficient. All of our trials show that we should be able to increase their yields by 10%, whether they're a vegetable grower or a chicken farmer. That should equate to about a $24 million increase in revenue and about 96 new farming jobs based on only 25% penetration in New York State. And I can walk through the math later on how those jobs come about, but even if those jobs aren't created, we know we can increase that revenue by $24 million and keep that revenue in the New York region. The next group of projects we're really excited about. First of all, I think we can create a waste collection and mixing facility in the middle of the Grow New York region for us to collect a lot of hemp, paper, cardboard, and then process some of that material and mix it into soils that we can distribute throughout New England. In addition to that, we plan to make a few new sales rep hires in the New York region to help us expand in the state. And then lastly, we've already got an agreement with Shuddy Buffalo Hammer Mills, where they make all the equipment that we use in our factory. So for every new factory we open, we'll be buying that material from Shuddy Buffalo Hammer Mill, and they'll be creating new high-paying manufacturing jobs. So really to summarize, if we're able to win the $1 million in the competition, we're gonna do multiple R&D and growth trial projects. We really hope to be able to create a collection and mixing facility if we're able to use hemp. and get a bunch of farming efficiencies. So there's a big economic impact, but most importantly, we think we can create a bunch of student jobs, manufacturing jobs, sales jobs, as well as new farming jobs. Again, my name's Brian Scott, and I'm the CEO at PittMoss. Thanks for having me today.
Great job, Brian. Great job, PittMoss. Now we're over to 10 minutes of Q&A with our judges. And first up, we have Mary Shelman.
Hey, Brian, thanks. I really like the idea behind this project. It seems like it's such a strong concept. You've got all these great testimonials that you talked about. You're in all these channels, but it seems to me like you're at about $750,000 in sales right now, and you're projecting some doubling. I just would have expected to see more, given that you've been around since 2015. So what's the biggest impediment to going from this kind of gradual growth of this business that you were talking about to a much stronger growth curve?
Yeah, so our biggest impediment to date has just been R&D. We haven't had products to offer on the market. So every year that you saw as we have grown,
right,
we've done it as a fairly cash-strapped business, and every year we have introduced 1 or 2 new products. So for us, this year is our first year having all those products in market, and that's why we're seeing not only a doubling in our customer count, but all of our customers are also averaging larger sales per customer. So that's why we think we're at the point now of exponential growth.
Okay, so you think that so explain to me why do you need a product set to satisfy this? Is that true only in a certain, like the retail channel, or is there one home run product here?
Well, I think that some of the home run products are, for example, our chicken bedding is brand new this year, and we're seeing like really great traction just in the last 3 or 4 months. But it really is a multi-channel product offering we need to offer, because a lot of growers grow both commercially and they have retail outlets. So for us to be able to sell them just a retail product without offering a grower product made it tougher. Now we can really kind of cross-sell even within the same customer base that we have.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Mary. How about you, Laura Pedersen? Are you up for a question?
Yep. Okay. Hi. I really like your idea of using recyclables. Not far from where I live, there's a large landfill and a recycling facility, so I'm very familiar with how that kind of stuff comes in and makes the landfill grow every year. But also the recycling can be not very uniform, I should say. So where do you get your raw materials from, and how do you determine that you've got the same kind of uniformity that you need from batch to batch?
Yeah, that's a great question. And in fact, we protect that with the trade secrets I talked about. So when we first started, we could only use clean newsprint. Today, we use newsprint, we use magazines, we use cardboard dust, a bunch of different products. Today, we buy from about 4 different recyclers in the region. And the reason that we're paying them to buy the material is because they're pre-sorting and selling us certain materials that we're buying from them. Then we hand sort here in the facility to make the right product mix for each product that we use. So we don't just dump like a bunch of material into a grinder and go from there. We're actually like sorting all the material based on the formula that we're creating. And that's actually part of our IP.
Okay. And do you have approval to use your product then for growing plants that would be used for human consumption?
Yeah, so we're actually OMRI certified on almost all of our products as organic.
Okay.
We have actually been the first soil certified as completely pesticide and heavy metal free for cannabis use. That's really big in a lot of states where people get their cannabis rejected because of high pesticide counts. So our product, believe it or not, is way cleaner than the typical field soil that you would get out in your yard even, because of environmental contaminants and heavy metals.
Do you have to test that on a regular basis, or is it just, how do you determine that?
We do, but it's based on the feedstock and then occasional review by either the USDA or OMRI. So we do that very frequently, and even our organic farmers that use it will also do their own testing. So everybody is really surprised by how much cleaner it is than typical soil.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Laura. Pravina Raghavan, you have some questions for PittMoss? The famous
Pravina, I can't hear you.
button, Pravina.
Yeah, it helps if I take myself off mute, you know.
There you go.
Thank you. I love your sample. Can't wait to try it out. I got it, so thank you for that. Quick question. So I know Mary kind of hit on it. You've got a lot of strategies and sales point, but what is your primary focus going in? Like if you win this prize money, either at a 250 or 500 level, what would you be your primary focus?
The primary use of funds, I would say, to do the testing and R&D on hemp waste and collecting the hemp waste in New York State to use as an input for us. So, I mean, there's a few projects we talked about related to that, but for us, that would really be the home run, would be to do the collection facility that would also serve as a distribution facility for us.
And do you have any plans as people are starting to migrate less and less from paper? As you know, like I used to be a big paper subscriber. Now I get all my news from Google. Right. So is that a concern in your supply chain, given that it's a
we hear that 1,000 times over, but guess what? Look at your mailbox, right? There's paper all the time coming in the mail. Very little of what we get is actual newsprint. The other thing is look at how many cardboard boxes we use today, right? So paper is not going away. It still makes up a third of what we send to the landfill. So the consistency or use might change. We may not be getting newspapers, but you're still going to get a lot of ads in your mailbox, and we're still going to ship a lot of products in cardboard.
Great. And then my final question before I turn it over, what do you think is going to be your biggest obstacle in the next 12 months? You know, given that COVID and all that other stuff, do you think that's going to impact your industry? I mean, I know people are growing more, but I know you have a retail product.
COVID has actually helped us. The stay-at-home economy has been good for our business and our industry. Our biggest hurdle, frankly, is just having enough salespeople to expand our footprint and grow demand in our product. We are able to grow through referrals, but you know, frankly, we have more customers and more referral requests than we can actually service with the small team that we have today.
And are any of your prize money to go in? I'm sorry, I should probably know the answer, but to fill in more sales, like what's your strategy to get more salespeople?
Yeah, so specifically in New York State, we feel like we already have some growers on Long Island and other parts of New York, but we really want to expand there. So depending on the level that we might win in prize money, we're going to hire anywhere from 1 to 3 new sales reps just for New York.
Okay. All right. I think that's it of my questions. I'm going to see if anyone else has anything. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Pravina. Maybe, Andrew, you have a question to jump in, and we actually do have a quick audience question after you're done, Andrew. So over to you.
Absolutely. So I will be brief then in my question. Brian, congratulations on your background as well. It's impressive seeing an entrepreneur like yourself with such a successful track record there. Speaking of which, when you pitched the Shark Tank team and picked up some new investors, Mark Cuban and the Blue Tree Angels and what have you, I'm sure they had some advice to you. And I'm curious, what pivots or changes did you make in your business plan from when you started to where you are now based on their feedback?
Yeah, so actually our founder, Mont, is the guy that pitched to Shark Tank and Mark Cuban. I was actually an angel investor with Blue Tree. So at the time that I came on board the company, really when Mont pitched to Shark Tank, he only had the idea for the base material. We didn't have any of the products. So when I came on board, and it was really came out of my angel group and recommendations that I was making, it was about us taking the product to retail and developing these lines of products for commercial and retail that we have been doing over the last couple of years. So really when he pitched, it wasn't a complete product. It was more an idea that got funded. And then we used that money to do a lot of the R&D to get to where we are today.
Thanks, Andrew. A quick question, yes or no answer. Is it an ideal mushroom substrate, Brian, from the audience?
Yes, we do have some mushroom growers using it for sure.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you so much, PittMoss, and thank you, judges.